tree on it.
Nice shot. Nice shot. Beautiful. The larger perch hits hard on.
So a big key to pan fishing is drilling a lot of holes. These panfish are going to be moving around in pods of 3 to 4, and sometimes they'll school up and stick around in bigger groups, but most of the bluegill are going to stick in that 3 to 4 pod range, and the crappies tend to do something similar too. And so what we're going to be doing is we are going to be drilling holes in a zigzag pattern across a structural transition. And so we've got a big hole behind us that's 20 feet. I wish I could fish it, but there's a bit of open water over there. So we're off to the side of the hole, which is all right. We're in about 8 feet of water, and it's going to go from 8 to 5. There's a lot of weeds. This is kind of the weed line, and this is the transition from weeds to a muddy bottom. And so we want to fish those transitions, and we want to go from 8 to 5, drilling in a zigzag pattern and really opening up our possibilities and checking different holes. And so we're going to fish a hole for like 5 minutes tops, and we're going to keep moving, right? And we're going to come back to those holes that are maybe missing fish in the beginning, because a lot of times these pods are moving fast and we're trying to find them. So if we get on 3 or 4 of them, great, and we fish them out, great. Then we move to another hole once we kind of max out at that, right? And we're looking for these pods. And now I'm going to be checking with my camera too, but most of the time I'm checking my depth with my flasher. So I already know what the bottom looks like down here. We got a thin amount of weeds transitioning to that mud, and we're just going to keep spreading out and look for these fish. All right, so we got our holes drilled out. We've got 4 of them in a line zigzagging across the transition. We're just gonna go ahead with our transducer, and we're gonna walk through and fish each hole for 5 minutes, bounce around, see if we can find some fish. There we go. There we go. It's a little bit nicer gill. Just little shakes is all you need to call them in and get them to come up, because when you do these big ones, they kind of spook sometimes. But just this like methodical little rod tip bumps, they really do the trick. And you can see it too, when you see it on your underwater camera. It's just like this like zooplankton just sitting there, and you'll see the zooplankton on your camera too, like the actual ones, the ones we're trying to mimic, and they'll be going just like that, just the woof, 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 woof. So that's what we're trying to mimic here, and it's so cool to see the plankton do it next to your lure, and everybody's doing it down there. Also, a lot of times when you have all these weeds in here, the bluegill can't really see your bait from far away, but they are actively feeding. So instead of doing big jumps like this, what I like to do is lift it up and then gradually lower it down, like something's falling in the water, like something just got wounded and is falling down, just like that. And it usually brings some fish in if they're just on the periphery. There's a fish. Come on. There's a fish. Come on. Oh, little bluegill. He's trying. Oh! He got the sides of the waxworms, but he just didn't get the hook in his mouth. He's coming back. He wants more. There he is. There he is. There we go. Smaller guy. That's okay though. Fish? We're catching fish. That's the goal today. Catch fish and hopefully get some bigger gills. Oh, and we got a big pike here. Let's see if I can get her. Okay, this pike's just not going to go for it, so we got to move holes because he's sitting there. All the bluegill are gone, and we're not going to catch any. Gotta move. We're using Eurolarva spikes that are super lively. I've got red ones and I have white ones. We've caught 2 so far and they're reds, but I'm seeing a lot of fish down there on the cameras. A couple nice gills, and I want to try the white ones because I feel like they should be biting more actively than they are. So we like to change up our colors when we can. I'm using our gold tungsten jig. This thing's awesome. It fishes so fast. It's like 1/12 ounce and it's just super quick, very micro, but still heavy enough to get down there and fish fast and feel those light tips. I just love it. It's my go-to panfish jig. And I like gold. A little bit of a cold front came through, and so they're a little bit more finicky than normal. They're moving a little bit slower, and that's what happens. You know, you really want to be fishing on safe ice, but warmer weather conditions are definitely ideal for bluegill. They just get a little bit tougher when it gets cold like that. We got down into we were hot for a while, and then we got down to like 12 last night and 6 the night before, and a lot of snow. We got 6 inches of snow. It's just not ideal. You want to get kind of in that 20 to 30 degree range with no winds. That's the bluegill bite, let me tell you. Now we got good standing weeds. Standing weeds are really helpful for bluegill. They stay alive a little bit longer, and it really oxygenates the water, and it really draws in the zooplankton that they're feeding on. And so if you can find standing weeds just right on the edge of a transition, that's ideal. And it took me a while to find these. I had to drill about, I think, 12 holes today to find these. But the moment I found them, we started marking fish, and I put the camera down, and I saw like at least 4 different gills down there. And I don't know why they're not more interested in feeding right now, besides the fact that there was a cold front. There he is. Right there. A little bluegill. Come on. Come on. He's coming. Oh, big pike. Oh, big bass! Oh! 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 I was talking about bass and how it's not gonna happen, and I'm about to catch this bluegill, and he spooks off. I'm like, why is he spooking off? Why would that be? This big old largemouth came in and clobbered it. Spent the whole time talking about how you're never gonna catch a largemouth bass on the ice, or very rarely, and then boom, just like that. What a nice phone book. You know what, I hate to say it, but I would have preferred the bluegill. It was actually looking pretty big. And I think I got it recorded on here on the camera, so that'll be fun to watch on the underwater camera. Man, you just never know. I'll show you guys a close-up of this fish. Oh, that's pretty fun, right? Largemouth bass through the ice. Why not, right? We're gonna get him back down there. What a day. I was like, what? Why is this bluegill not about to... He just booked it. He's right about to take that bait, and he just scatters. And I was holding the jig completely still. I'm like, what are you doing? And then I thought it was a pike when I saw that big head come through, and then boom, no, it's a largemouth bass. Why not? Well, I'm glad I switched over to white maggots. Maybe that had something to do with it. And they're all still fresh. That bass will also have an ill effect on the bluegill situation right now, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm all set up here. I think it'll be fine. Who knows? Maybe we'll get another bass. There we go. Oh, that's a nicer fish. My jokes about largemouth bass in the beginning of the day. Probably shouldn't have said that. That's 2 bass today. What did I say? You're never going to catch 2 bass. Well, look at that. 2 bass today. What a day. Okay. Better. There we go. Better fish, better gill. Big wad of waxies on there. We'll get him back in. All right, let's cover some of the bait and jig pairings that we're using today. All of our jigs, soft plastics, are coming out of the ice fishing kit. Our Taylor Tackle ice fishing kit comes with an awesome ice fishing book to show you exactly how to do all of this. Now, on a finicky finesse bite, we like to use our tungsten jig and just tip it with a single live waxworm. That tends to seal the deal when they're really finicky. If we're gonna be fishing faster, looking for fish and hole hopping, we don't wanna be changing out our baits all the time, so we like to use one of our diamond jigs tipped with a chartreuse plastic. This will fish really fast and it'll call in fish with that bright pattern. Now, when we do find fish and we wanna narrow in on the bigger fish, we like to use our diamond jig with a Eurolarva soft plastic tip to it, and then also load it up with a bunch of waxworms. This will target the larger fish because it's a bigger profile, and that soft plastic will stay on to keep our pants on in case, you know, the smaller ones take our wad of waxies.
Hello.
There we go. I told you there was some interest. This is a better fish. Oh no, it's just a wily vet. He's got a couple pike scars on him. Oh. There we go, just got him right there. Oh, give me my plastic back. That's so much fun. Okay, wily vet. There we go. There we go. Got him. Right underneath the ice. Man, he came up all the way to the surface there. That's a nice fish. That's what we're going for. That's great table fare right there. All right, we're gonna get him back down there.